sure, sticking with funders. So would some funders shy away from providing grants if they saw another organization providing grants? As an example, would a government funder shy away from providing grant if they saw an anarchist organization funding an organization? Non-profit.
I'm not sure.
Like association, affiliation concerns?
Like competing
Is
organizations?
the question you're asking about turf? The funders have turf?
Yeah, about turf.
Or ideology.
Well, those are two different questions. Funders, from what I know, you talk more to foundation than I do, but foundations definitely have turf, but I don't think it's between government and foundations. I don't think there's a concept of turf. But I don't think it's that strong, and it's, but
I would say at least sometimes. I mean, some foundations definitely have an ideological leaning, and if they see that you have funding from groups that don't agree with their ideological leaning, your chance of getting funds are next to zero. In other cases, people might have fun. I mean, I once encountered a person who was head of corporate community investments or donations program of one of the tobacco companies in the country, and there's a lot of charities that refuse to take money from them, as an example, both from ideological reasons, and there's a lot of people who just say, if other people saw that we took money from them, they would not give us money. I think different extremes, but I mean, I think the ideological ones, and there's definitely right-wing think tanks, there's left-wing think tanks, and if they see that your approach to doing work is not the same, they will be one. And then there's other ones that they won't even look at who you receive funding for if you don't include it in the proposal.
So I'm all about the lens tonight. I realize this is my theme. Ask yourself, why do you have that anarchist society engaged in as a collaborator in your program as a funder or a stakeholder? And if you've got a reason for it, put it in your grant. And if you need to weigh it and say that it's more important for this anarchist society group to give us the funding because they're so integral to this project, then that's your lens, and don't try and fit your circle within a square. But so at end, it like one of my best friends is the Canadian whatever the humanist movement of Canada. He calls himself an anarchist, but anarchy is a very broad term. And if I were to write a grant and call him one of my committee members, I would say, this is why he's involved and this is the value that he brings to the project. So that's the affiliation question: is ask yourself why you have him on board, and if there's a good reason, then put it in your grant, and The other part is, I have seen over and over again, and I'm curious to know if you guys would corroborate this, grantors love to see other investments and stakeholders, that you've actually brought investors to the table. They love that, actually, really do.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that grant makers love to see when you actually say, okay, either we have this extra money for this project secured for what we're doing, or we have these people who we think will be interested in because of this, or we're looking at a partnership with these people, so that you have an idea for your other partners that it's not solely them. They don't generally, it depends on the funder of course, but you see a lot of people who do not feel comfortable being the only funder of a program or project. So they do like to know, even if you're just writing a letter of intent, so a one-pager, if you quickly mention these are the other people that we have involved in this kind of thing. They do like to see that. Yeah, and as far as turf wars go with foundations, it's interesting. I think the way that they put it is they like to be efficient at their grant making, right? So let's say if they're they're into funding poverty relief in Ontario, they'll see, okay, who's funding what? Okay, these guys are covering a lot of food banks. What can we fund or what can we do? So it's more about being efficient in their funding than you're covering this or we're covering that. It's about they want to make sure different causes are covered or where are their needs for funding. So I guess it's a turf. It's being efficient, right? So